Hey everyone, it's Sarah. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, then please make sure to subscribe, and everybody put your post bell notifications on so you guys never miss an upload. If you're new to my channel, then hi, I'm Sarah. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes on August 7th, 2014, and here on my channel I'd like to share the highs, the lows, and everything in between when it comes to my life with type 1 diabetes. Now today's video and the last video, if you have not watched the last video, I'll put a link up here and in the description box. Make sure you go and watch that video first because this is a two-parter video, and that was part 1 that I posted on Tuesday, and this video is going to be talking all about my demon and ghost experiences and scary stories that I've had as an adult. The very first story for today's video is a story that happened to me and to my boyfriend, okay? So I have a whole bunch of stories about that happening to us, so I will tell you a couple of them today, but this was like the first crazy one because this was the first summer that we were dating. So we had been together for maybe 5 or 6 months before this story happened. And I used to work at a Girl Guide camp as a camp counselor and as like a coordinator for arts and crafts and wellness. And he came to pick me up. Now, this was the first weekend, so I had been there for 2 or 3 weeks without having a weekend off. And this was the first weekend that I had off, and he was coming to get me. Okay, but he had no idea what was going on at the camp. He didn't know anything really about the camp. He just knew it was a Girl Guide camp that I was working at. I'm there at the camp having lunch with all of the other camp counselors and everything, and just enjoying myself. And I see Jaden pull in with his car, and I gave him a kiss, but he was acting a little weird. I was like, hey, like, what happened? And he's like, I just want to let you know, like, there's 2 girls at the front of the camp, like, that are there all by themselves. Like, you should probably tell somebody. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, you have 2 campers that are at the side of the road at the, you know, like when you first come into a camp or like into anything, like the first main driveway off of the road. He was like, there's campers there. There's 2 little kids there. You need to go and like tell the other counselors to go and get them. We can go pick them up in the car and bring them back here. And I was like looking at him like he was insane because we hadn't had any campers yet. Okay? Had not had any campers yet because myself and the other coordinators and like the main people there were there for a week before any of the counselors got there, and then we had the counselors there for about 2 weeks to get, you know, orientated into everything, and then we were gonna have campers the weekend after the weekend that I got back. Okay, so we had not had any campers yet, and he didn't know this. And I was like, Jaden, we don't have any campers. Maybe, like, are you sure it's not like somebody who lives nearby? And he's like, when I came down the road to drop you off and to pick you up, I went down both sides of the road and there was nobody, like no houses in this area. And I was like, oh, that's weird. Whereabouts were they? And he was like, oh, I'll show you when we drive out. He pointed to the left side of the driveway. And he was like, they were right there. One of them had a ball and they were playing with a ball. And I was like, well, what did they look like? Because I was starting to get freaked out because I knew a story about the camp. But he didn't know this, okay? So he's like, oh, well, like, they were in like white, kind of like really light baby blue or white dresses, and they just had like brown shoes on. One of them had their hair half up and half down, and one of them had a braid. And I was like, and they were right there. And he was like, yeah. And I went pale white. And he was like, Sarah, like, what's wrong? Like, I'm sure that they're fine. Like, if you don't have any campers and somebody's got to live by, like, right? And they're not here anymore, so I don't think it's a big deal. And I was like, Jaden, you don't understand. This camp, the camp that I worked at, used to be like a farmland. Like, used to just be all farmland, and there was a farmhouse. This farmhouse was built in the early 1800s, and there was a family there that passed away in a horrible, horrible house fire. Okay, and like that's how the Girl Guides that got the land. They bought the land because they turned it into a camp, right? And I'm like telling him this, and he's starting to go white, and he's like, oh my God, were those the girls then that must have died in the house? And I was like, yeah, there was 2 little girls that died in the house, and their graves were right there, like not like right off of the side of the road, but like if you went down maybe like 200 feet, there's gravestones there for the little girls, and he didn't know that because they're in the trees, like they're in the forest. Okay, they're old gravestones from the 1800s. And how would he know that? Like, how would Jaden know that that had happened, right? So that was just a wild experience, because then I came back on Monday and I told everybody that story, and they were all freaked out. And for the rest of the summer, we would take like the older girls, because like in Girl Guides, right, you have like the Sparks, the Brownies, the Guides, the Pathfinders, and the Rangers, and we would take like the third year Pathfinders and some of the Rangers, and we would do like moonlight ghost stories and like tell them about like this ghost experience that I had, and they all like loved it. But that was a pretty crazy experience. I didn't see the ghosts, but the fact that my boyfriend saw that, and then I had to like explain to him that there was graves there, it was a wild experience. Okay, my second story, this happened while Jaden and I were like doing like a road trip through all of like northern Ontario and everything like that. And what happened was, we were driving and the GPS turned off, and I thought that was a little weird because my GPS had been working totally fine. And so Jaden and I are just like, you know, it's fine, it's not a big deal, like we're together, if anything happens, like the car breaks down, we've got the tent in the back, we can go camping, it's not a huge deal, right? So GPS goes off, we don't know where in the hell we are, okay, and we're driving down this road and it's a dead end. So Jaden and I are like, okay, well, I guess the only way for us to go is down this dirt road off to the right. And so we followed that dirt road because there was no way for us to go back or like turn around or anything. So we start following down this dirt road, and I started getting a really freaking weird like feeling. And mind you, it was the middle of August when this happened, so it was like 30 degrees out, like it was hot out. And we're in the car and it starts to go like ice cold, like freezing cold, and all the lights that we had were his beams off of his car. There was no lights in sight. We passed through a whole bunch of different farmhouses that looked abandoned down this dirt road. We didn't see anybody, and all of a sudden, when it was like ice cold, from the right side of the car all the way over to the left side of the car, like on the windshield, there was this white mist, and it traveled from my side of the car, the right side, all the way up across the windshield to Jaden's side of the car and went off into the forest, and you can see the mist go off into the forest. But before, while we were watching it, because it wasn't just me who saw this, my boyfriend also saw this, it was a white face, and it was like a young girl's kind of like, it looked like a female face, so maybe not a young girl, but like female face, and it was like contorting as it was going across the windshield. And Jaden and I both looked at each other and went, did you fucking see that? And we both decided then and there, we're like, you need to fucking floor it, and we need to get out of here because I don't know what that was that we just saw. My fourth story for today's video is the story, you remember at the beginning of the video, I talked about how my apartment was haunted. So I'm gonna just tell you like a couple small stories from the time that I lived at my apartment. I lived there for about 2.5 or 3 years. There was a little boy there named Desmond. I like to call him Desi. And I don't think that he was an evil spirit. I think that he was a mischievous one that was misunderstood. And I didn't have any like really terrible negative experiences with him, but he did try and like scare me often. And I think that he tried to communicate with me and scare me more so than my roommate, just because I was open to it. Like I've said so many times, I'm open to it, and I kind of opened myself up to that. I moved into the apartment in October of 2017 with my roommate from school, and we didn't really have anything crazy happen for probably about 6 months, so about until like my birthday or April. And that's when I started to live at the apartment kind of by myself, because my roommate, she would go back and like move in with her parents for the summer because she worked in her parents' city, and that was like an hour and a half away. So I was at the apartment for like from the end of April until like the end of August, beginning of September, by myself most of the times. And I started to have this experience, which I didn't realize until like a year and a half later why I was starting to have these experiences. I started to hear doors slam. okay? And at the apartment that I lived at, the doors were really, really, really heavy, like heavy wood. And so you could hear them open and close because they were creaky and they would slam, okay? So it wasn't just like a creak, it was like I felt like somebody was slamming the door. And this happened a couple times where I would go from my room, which was down at the end of the hallway, all the way into the living room, hearing somebody slam the door, right? And it was the balcony door, which I always had locked. But I started getting scratches on me, okay? Which started to freak me out, because then I thought, scratches with the demon. But they were scratches of only like 1 or 2 scratches. It wasn't like 3 scratches or 3 small scratches. And I started to hear things. Like I said in the first video, I think that I'm clairaudient and that I can kind of hear spirits. So I started to hear a little boy giggling and things like that. And then things started to escalate. Before I get into like the crazy stuff that Desi was doing, and the reason why I know his name is Desmond is because, so I was having all of these experiences happen, and then I was telling my boyfriend about this, and he's like, oh really? Well, that's weird. I'll ask my friend from like my history program if she's having anything like that, because she apparently lived in the apartment building 1 floor down. Like, we lived above her, like directly above her. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, go and ask her. He comes back and he tells me that she was having experiences. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll go and talk to her. So I talked to her, and I guess what happened, why I wasn't having experiences for the first 6 months, is because around my birthday, like around St. Patrick's Day, her and her friends got really drunk and thought that it would be fun to play with a Ouija board. Okay. And they contacted this little boy who they believed to be like an Indigenous Canadian that was killed somewhere in Hamilton, in that area. His name was Desmond. Okay, and so I just refer to him as Desmond because that's what I was told that his name was. So I just try and be as respectful to him as I possibly can, and still to this day. And she told me about Desmond. And then she also told me, because they were so drunk, they never actually fully, like, properly closed the Ouija board session. Which, if you know anything about Ouija boards, if you don't close the session properly, then you leave, like, the portal open for spirits to come in and out, right? And she had experiences in our apartment with, like, poltergeist experiences, and she had scratches similar to mine and things like that. And so when I heard that, I realized, I was like, okay, yeah, so I have like some little trickster little boy in the apartment who thinks that it's funny because he knows that I'm open and, open to all of this, right? So I tell my roommate, and I don't think she didn't believe me. I think she just kind of was like, yeah, like whatever, like I haven't really like seen anything weird or had any weird experiences, right? So I was the one out of the 2 of us who like fully believed that there was this little boy spirit that lived in the apartment. And I had a dog. His name is Butters, right? If you've been on my channel, you know Butters. Okay. And Butters, it got to the point where Butters would growl into, like, in the middle of the night, he would look down the hallway where it's pitch black when I'd go to the bathroom, and he would, like, you know how dogs, they like move their head like to the side like this and their ears perk up? He would do that, and he would start growling, and nobody would be down at the end of the hallway. I would go and turn on all the lights in the apartment and just double check that there wasn't a creeper in the apartment, right? He would do that when my roommate was there, when my roommate wasn't there. The door slamming continued, windows opened and closed by themselves, like in the middle of winter. I would wake up and it would be like minus like 15 degrees in my bedroom because the window had been opened. Okay, like stuff like that happened. And then it started to escalate to the scratches, and then it started to escalate to poltergeist activity. Okay? And like I said, I believe Desmond was just a little trickster, little boy spirit. I don't believe that he was anything like, malevolent or crazy or like demonic or anything like that, because he never really actually hurt me. I think he was just trying to play with me, which is what, whenever I hear about people talking about like experiences with little kid spirits, that this is the kind of experience that they'll have. So Butter's toy started to get like moved around the room. His balls would just like randomly, I'd be in the living room and Butters would be on the couch with me, and I'd be home by myself and a ball would just like roll down the hallway into the living room. There was one time when my boyfriend, my roommate, and her boyfriend were all sitting at the dining room table in the dining room, and a pizza box, I swear to God, and we all saw this, okay? A pizza box lifted like a good 6 inches out of the recycling bin and flung and hit the wall. Okay, like stuff like that started to happen. And another experience that I had with Desmond is that I was in my bedroom and so was my boyfriend. The two of us were in my bedroom and my boyfriend looked out the window and he's like, hey, I just saw a face. And I lived on like the 7th or 8th story of this apartment building. So like outside of my window, there was not a balcony. It was just like a straight drop, like 50 or 60 feet, right? Okay. And he was like, hey, I think I just saw a face out the window. And I looked out the window, didn't see anything. And all of a sudden, because I used to have like this old, like metal framed bed with like the little thingies at the end of the foot of the bed, like this. And it sounded and it felt like somebody took their hand and rung it like across the rungs of the end of the bed. And then the door opened slightly. Not like a little bit, like this much. My bedroom door, which, you know, when you close it, it clicks, right? It's not like one of those ones that just flung open and closed and stuff. It opened. And Butters was sitting on the end of the bed and he started growling. So I had a lot of experiences like that, and I have even more experiences. So that's my experience with Desmond, but if you guys want to see more videos of me talking about Desmond or any stories about Desmond, then please make sure to comment down below and give this video a like so I know to do that, okay? So this is going to be my final ghost story for this video. I am just going to give you a little bit of a warning before I actually go into this video. If you are susceptible to ghosts, to anything like this, like demons or anything like that, then viewer discretion is totally advised with this, okay? Because I am going to be showing a picture of a ghost, of a doll named Robert the Doll, okay? And the reason why I'm giving you a little bit of a warning is before I show the video, or before I show Robert the Doll, is because I watched the Haunted Museum special that Zach Baggins have, like, if you know who he is, and if you've watched Ghost Adventures. I love Ghost Adventures, I love Zach Baggins, I love all that kind of like ghosty stuff, right? And the reason why I'm giving you a warning is because I watched one of his specials on Robert the Doll, and I watched it, and I didn't really like fully believe in it, which I totally do now. And this is why, okay, because I had an experience, because the entity that is attached to Robert the Doll has been known to attach itself to people who don't necessarily believe or respect it through video and through like electronics and things like that. So that's why I'm giving you a warning. If you don't give it the proper respect, you may have an experience. So I'm just putting that out there right now. That is the disclaimer. Here's the picture. If you haven't watched the Zach Baggins Robert the Doll episode, I'll leave like the season and the episode and everything down in the description box, okay, so you guys can check it out. This is my experience with Robert the Doll. I watched the video, and it wasn't that I necessarily didn't believe, it was just like, how could something attach itself to me through a video or through a picture if I've never seen it in real life? My experience happened a month after watching this episode. People have reported that before, that he'll wait until like you're unsuspecting. What happened was I went to sleep. In my dream, I was in my apartment, except for I was in my bedroom by myself, and it smelled like rotting flesh. Like, I have never experienced a smell like that before, but in my dream I was experiencing that, and there was lots of black flies in my bedroom, and I couldn't figure out where the smell was coming from, and I was trying to find it, and I was trying to find it, and I was trying to find it. And Robert the Doll was in my dream, and when I was dreaming it, I didn't understand Like, I didn't recognize that that was who it was, but when I woke up, I realized what that was. So Robert the doll was on my bed, like on my pillow. My room smelled, okay? And I couldn't find my dog. Could not find Butters for the life of me, okay? And I was like searching. I was like trying to find stuff in my closet, trying to find stuff in my roommate's room, trying to find stuff in the kitchen. I couldn't find Butters. I was going through everything, okay? And finally, the flies came and got me and kind of like brought me back to my bedroom and showed me under my bed. And that's where I found Butters' like rotting, nasty corpse. Nasty corpse. Okay, and this entire time, Robert the doll is sitting on my bed, okay? And my boyfriend's friend, Vince, was in my dream, and so was his other friend, Jordan. But Jaden wasn't in the dream, so it was just his two friends. And they were trying to help me find Butters, and we couldn't find Butters until I found him under my bed. And I brought him out from under my bed, and Vince and Jordan, like, disappeared out of my dream, okay? And then Robert the doll, when I pulled Butters out and I was holding like Butters' decaying corpse in my arms, Robert the doll stood up and looked at me and put his hand up like this, and I started choking in my dream. Was choking and choking, and I couldn't breathe. I just like I couldn't breathe. I just felt like I was gonna die, okay? And this is when my boyfriend in real life, who was sleeping next to me in the bed while I was having this dream, was trying to violently wake me up because I was actually choking. I was holding on to my shirt like this, pulling at my shirt while I was sleeping, okay? But I was like constricted. I could not breathe, and Jaden's like trying to like wake me up because I'm choking in real life. That happened, and then I couldn't go back to sleep, and I realized I woke up after I like had finished like choking or whatever, because it felt like something was like actually choking me. Like it felt like somebody had their hand around my throat and then I couldn't breathe, okay? And so when I woke up and like calmed down and got some water and everything, I couldn't go back to sleep. Oh, also when I woke up, it was 333. That was like the number that I saw on my Fitbit when I woke up, which is awesome, right? I sat on the couch in the living room because I could not go back to sleep after that. I put on like a movie and I was sitting there and I just realized, like, it just like in my head, I was trying to like recall everything that happened in that dream because I was so shocked at like me choking, physically choking, right? So I started to recall like the dream and what actually happened in the dream, and I was like, what is that doll? I've seen that doll before. Like, I couldn't figure it out. And then it came to my head. I was like, that was Robert the doll. And from that point on, I always give things the proper respect. If I'm gonna watch anything that could possibly attach itself to me through the video, like through screen or whatever, I always try and give it the proper respect that it deserves, because that was just a wild experience that I had. That is my final ghost/demon story for this 2-part video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm just gonna do like a little announcement too for anybody who has type 1 diabetes who's been on my channel before. Next month, the month of November, is Diabetes Awareness Month, so I am going to be uploading 3 videos every single week, 2 kind of theme videos, and then 1 weekly vlog video, okay? And that will be starting on November 1st, okay? So I'll see you guys in my next video. I hope you guys enjoyed all of these scary stories. If you haven't watched part 1, then please make sure to go watch part 1, because I talk about all of my little kid experiences. And I'll leave all of my links in the description box down below, okay? And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!